entrepreneurs, creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of the CEO Show. Remember, this is the 16th episode, and to this far, it is courtesy of you. We are very grateful and always very thankful for the support that you've granted this particular show. Remember, this is a show that always comes to you every Tuesday from 7:30 to 9. And the main objective of this particular show is always to bring you business leaders and trailblazers in different industries. And the main objective is to enable you to learn something, get inspired, and be incited. Tonight, we have another great episode prepared for you. Why is it amazing? Why is it great? Simply because we are doing a different industry that you've been looking forward to. A lot of people have been looking forward to this particular show. Why? Because the guest tonight is one amazing individual and also doing something great across the region. Why is it great? Because he's doing something on a road that less people always travel to. Who is our guest? Our guest tonight is none other but Isaac Kosgei, who is the CEO and also the founder of KIBOIS breeders. What do you understand about breeders? Breeding something is breeding, talk about what you call Dorper sheep. This is a story that you can't afford to miss. This is a story that you are in a position to learn something. Remember, we are coming to you live on Facebook and also YouTube. But also tonight, we are coming to you live on TikTok. Mr. Isaac, karibu to the show. Before even you introduce yourself, there is something that I read on your page, yes. Some information that triggered something. You say that 75% of what people eat in the whole world comes from 12 crops. Correct. And 5 animals. Correct. That is true, right? Correct. And then again, you say that 61% of calories come from the 12 crops, and then 14% come from these 5 animals. Correct. That was not surprising. What was surprising? One of the animals was cow. Number 2, it was sheep. Number 3, it was chicken. And then also you talked about pig. Correct. But now, surprisingly, I saw buffalo in the list. Is there something that you get from buffalo and how?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, as you've said, my name is Isaac Kosgei.
Yes.
The CEO of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. Mm-hmm. We are located in Nandi County, a place called Kipkaren, and we also have 2 other farms, one in Kaptel, and we also do Dorper sheep in, Gala goats, a bit of Gala goats in Elgeyo Marakwet. So we focus on breeding and also supplying communities with Dorper sheep. Okay. So you've rightly put it. Buffalo is a forest animal, which it's domestic in India and most of those Thailand, all those other countries. So looking at it from there, and also in Brazil, they have a bit of domesticated buffalo as well. Okay. Yes, in the Latin America. So that gives them milk. And that gives them meat. So that's why it appears, because that population alone, when you talk of the China, India population, you're talking of almost 2 billion people. Okay. Yes, you add it to Brazil. So all those guys alone would make up a third of the world, and they depend as one, the buffalo is also one of their big...
Okay, but now in the Kenyan setup, now in the scenario, ukisikia that mimi leo, is it allowed? Wasikie kesho dana amefuga buffalo. Is it allowed?
It's not, of course, based on the type of, the breed of buffalo that we have here. Mm-hmm. So, but in those other countries, they have just the same way that you have a domesticated elephant in those other regions. Okay. Then you'll have the African elephant, who's slightly different from the other one, and that is domesticated. Or
Okay.
the same way that you would have a donkey here, and you also have a zebra.
Okay.
Yes, so it may not be allowed here in Kenya, but in other countries they have a specific domestic breed of buffalo.
Okay.
Yes, that's closely related actually, and you can actually crossbreed with our local buffaloes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Now, that was on a light note because I hate to ask that question.
Thank you.
Now, tell us who is Isaac, and tell us about your background. Where did you grow, and now your educational background. Before now we talk about what you do.
Thank you very much. So my background has always been in agriculture, and I'm a graduate of Egerton University, and I did agribusiness. I graduated in the year 2011, and I've been in the field of agriculture from the time I graduated. So I work for a company called KIBOIS Africa that we focus on crop protection. So my focus has always been on empowering the smallholder farmers. And that is why when I saw a niche in livestock farming as well, having worked in the crop sector, I needed something also on the sidelines that I can still work, but it's within my line of agribusiness, and I can still get an opportunity differently now to be able to serve our farmers and empower our communities.
Okay.
And that is why 4 years ago we started KIBOIS Breeders.
Okay.
But my background from then has been in the agri space, supporting farmers on crop protection and improving productivity in their farms,
Okay.
Especially on crops. And one of the major areas that I've worked in is Western Kenya, the entire Western, North Rift as well. So we've worked around these areas, serving smallholder farmers. And one of the key areas was, of course, improving productivity in corn. And if you can check very keenly, you'll realize that Western Kenya nowadays no longer even come to North Rift to buy maize, because we've really transformed the landscape for that particular area.
Okay.
And so having seen an opportunity now in livestock farming, and especially more specifically in Dorper and Gala, then it made sense that I can start as a different business, even as I work to support the farmers on this other end.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the younger you, this young boy growing in which village did you grow
Thank you, Kombe village.
in Kombe village?
Yes.
Okay.
In
Surprisingly, 2 weeks ago we had a young girl from Kombe village. I believe it.
Correct.
She was your neighbor.
She's my neighbor.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yes, actually, 400, 500 meters.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, taking back to the young Isaac, were you that kind of person when you ulikuwa unatumwa uende uchunge mbuzi that triggered you?
Thank you. First, my grandfather was a big farmer. When I was growing up, early 90s, he had a flock of 400, 500 goats. So I used to, now being a firstborn son, I used to take care of my grandfather's animals from a very, very young age. And you know what that means? It's not just going to look for the animals, but also just making sure that you account for the numbers.
That was like 400
Yes,
goats.
yes.
Okay.
I think that is how now.
And how many were you?
We were 3 plus two cousins and me, so 3 young boys.
After
And
400, more than 400.
Yes, and ensuring that when they come in, you can account for each animal. If there's one missing,
You have
then
to
you
go
have to
look for
report
it.
it and go back, go look for it, and ensure that it's home. So that is, I think, that's how my passion started. And my father was also a farmer. He didn't go to school, and so he relied and he ensured that because he didn't get the opportunity to go to school and get education, then he made sure that his children then, who are us, are able to get those opportunities that he himself missed.
Okay.
And to be able to fund that, he relied very heavily on farming so that we could go to school, me and my siblings. So we were educated, and whenever we came home for break, we would always now be sent to the fields to do weeding, to take care of mzee's animals as well. Even now, after we had moved, we started in a place called Sangalo, a Kipsomuch area. So we had moved now to Kaptel. we would still just take care of the animals and also tend to my father's farm. And
Okay.
so that is where the passion started. I almost dropped it a bit though in KIBOIS because I think because of peer pressure. So
Okay.
everybody was like, agriculture is an old man's thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we only had this dream of, I will be an engineer, I'll
Okay.
be a what. So in high school, I think I dropped agriculture for accounts, but I
Okay.
realized it's not my thing.
Okay.
Although it still came to help me now in trying to manage a business and the work that I do.
Okay. Okay.
But then when I went to university,
Okay.
I
Now you shifted now to agriculture again.
yes,
Okay.
fate actually just things conspire to make it work.
Okay. Now the connection that I'm getting here, your grandfather did more of livestock
Correct.
farming. Now your dad came to do more of crop farming.
Yes,
Now you did an average.
yes,
You went to school to do agriculture.
yes,
And then immediately you practiced agriculture for some time.
yes,
And then now you came up with this idea of livestock farming.
correct.
Why KIBOIS?
Thank you. First of all, KIBOIS is our family name.
Oh, nice.
Yes, not family but the clan. And so I looked at that and it could fit very well. And of course, KIBOIS means people that are working, hardworking. In Kalenjin, of course, we say Baishets. So the guys that work. So I thought when I was trying to register the company, I thought because I could hear my grandfather back then talking about, we need to work. We are the KIBOIS people.
Okay.
So of course I said, I think I can actually pick our
KIBOIS.
clan name
Okay.
and run away with it and register. So that is when I was registering my company. Then I looked at various options, and I think the best and the inspiration was looking at my grandfather taking care of 400 goats. Then I thought, if I am going to actually get to the level where my grandfather was,
Okay.
then I'm going to actually focus on this.
Okay.
As
Now moving from you are employed, that
Yes,
is,
yes.
in dealing with pest control, dealing with crops and what have you across the region.
Correct.
Now this idea of now venturing into livestock, it's not far from crop and
Correct.
and farming. Now venturing into livestock. One, it was an inspiration from your grandfather, right? But now, what was the business idea in this particular business?
Thank you. The business idea came in around 2018, 2019, when there were changes in government policy and the ESC. So I read in the papers that there's a need for the East African community had signed an agreement, a framework agreement with the Gulf countries, and that going forward, there's going to be a huge demand for sheep and goats, and even like mostly beef. They were focusing on beef export to Gulf, and that meant that those Gulf countries were no longer going to buy more from Australia, the UK, Russia, Ukraine, and so that obviously created a niche. And me being in the industry, I could interact with the policymakers.
Okay.
Because that's a level where you also just get to see what's happening at the ministry level. And so that exposure to policymakers at the ministry level then allowed me to know what's happening and what's going on. And for a long time, I had always wished that I start this project. One, of course, was I could use it as a side business. I didn't really imagine that it was going to be that big.
That's
so I said, yes.
Main asshole.
Yes, it was like, as I work, I think I can get something small where, I mean, when you have some extra money, you can buy 2 animals or something just to multiply, because I had the space. So when I now read this opportunity, then I said I'm going to run with it. And one of the things that I picked from that was that the Gulf countries wanted animals that are not over mature. They're not going to pick animals that are very old. But again, in East Africa, you don't find, like it takes 2 years for our local East African goats and the sheep. First of all, the threshold for export was, they were talking of an animal that is 45 kilos. But at the same time, these guys are telling you, we need 45 kilos and above, but we would need an animal that is not more than 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
where do you get that? So I did my own research.
You saw an opportunity.
I saw a very big opportunity. I said, I'm going to run with it.
Okay. Now, before you take us through now the way you started and where you are currently, and let me just acknowledge some people who are coming in. We have Bargoyet Kiptum following live from Turesha. We have Ken Boit who is tuning in, saying very informative, following from Nairobi. Marco H. Chemtai Rispa tuning in. Amos Kipruto tuning in. BK Lele following. Naisi is also following. Kipngeno Dan is saying that Dan following you. And also we have Paluget who is saying feeling inspired. Impossible is nothing. So keep the comments coming, and also if you have a question for our guest tonight, make sure that you ask and also tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to share this conversation for us to know that you're part of this conversation. Now, the inception of the whole business.
Yes.
How was it like? Now you want to venture into this business. You have the idea now transforming into reality. How was it?
I think for me, I took the leap of faith. I started in April, actually on 1st of April 2020. And one of the things that I did was I talked to a friend of mine and I said I needed, I had some 100,000 on the side, so I started constructing a ship structure with that and getting feeds. So fortunately, I had done a store early for my maize. So I said, I think I'm going to use this small store to keep the animal feeds because I had now done all the research on how I needed to start. So then to start, I went and picked and bought 5 Dorper sheep that were pregnant. At that time, the price was like 10,000 shillings.
Per one?
Yes, per piece. So having used the 100 to do the construction, then I went and started with, I bought 5 pregnant sheep.
Okay.
And they were not really 100% pure, but at least I was proud that I now have something that I've started.
Okay.
Yes, and after that, I now did the research. Because they were pregnant, I researched and I realized that to really improve and get to the level that the exporters want, the first thing was to invest in a ram.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's the ram that changes the flock, it's not the females.
Okay.
So I now started, I immediately, they lumped down around July, because they were pregnant when I bought anyway.
Okay.
So it normally takes them 5 months.
Where did you get that from? Other than now your grandfather inspired you, did you have somebody who was practicing the same business at that time?
Thank you. Yes, we had, because of the nature of my work, of course, it means that I visit most of these large-scale farmers. And I actually bought from one farmer who was doing 500 sheep. And 500 sheep, when they lump down, they already have 1,000 in that 5 months. Okay. When they repeat that again, you have you have a total of 1,500 plus or minus. Okay. And so that means that that guy was selling animals worth 7 million, 5 million every year. Wow. Because of that. So I had already seen from him. I have done the research on where we will sell and how we will do it, but I didn't have the capital to start big. So I told a friend, I have used my 100, please loan me 50. And that is how we started. Okay. Yes.
You have the 5 which were pregnant?
Yes.
Translated to 10?
Yes.
And also you had a ram?
Yes. No, I didn't buy a ram at that time because all the animals were pregnant.
Okay.
So I bought 5 animals that were pregnant. Fortunately, none died at that time. Okay. Of course, I came to encounter losses later when we now started growing. But at that time when we were starting, none of them died, and we had 12 because there were some that had twins. Okay. So in 3 months after we bought, I think they must have been 2 months pregnant. That was now in July. They are all lumping down. Okay. And now that forced me now to go look for a ram. Okay.
How long does it take to lump?
The gestation period is 5 months. From the moment they become pregnant, it takes them 5 months before they lump down. Okay. So when they lumped down in July, because I bought when they were pregnant, then it took them again another 2 months as they raised the young ones. Then I went and bought now a very good ram, one of those pedigree. I visited one of the leading farmers in Kajiado at that time, and I bought a very good ram, an offspring of an import. Before now I imported mine. I quickly went for an offspring of an import, and the ram at that time was costing 70,000. Okay. So I bought that.
That is
one piece. So I bought that offspring, served this, and I realized, so when I visited that farm, and I also talked to the farmers in South Africa because Dorper is originally from South Africa. So they told me that you'll make your money when you invest in a good ram, and again when you have so many animals, so that you get value from this very expensive ram.
Okay.
So it forced me now to get more money, and I added another 10 plus the 5 original mothers, so that I ended up serving 15.
Okay.
And I also have my 7 young ones growing.
Okay.
So in a few months since I started, then I served these ones. By 2021 March, we now had these 15 again lumping down. So you have the 7, then you have 15, and you have another 15 being born. So you're on 30 within 10 months of starting. You have 30 animals.
Okay.
Plus these ones that the additional, of course, were purchases. But that is how we quickly grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go now to the details about this particular kind of business which you are doing.
Yes.
Just in a nutshell, were you still working when you were doing this the first 10 months?
Yes.
Okay, so how were you balancing?
Funny enough, I still work.
Oh, okay.
I think the balance came in 2 things. We embrace technology. You have CCTV to help you manage.
Okay, okay.
And then you also ration the feeds, and you have everything. Like now, you must have seen in our YouTube, on our Facebook page, where we are baling 100 kilos for 100 animals.
Okay.
And so this, the Shamba boy just gets to use that exact 100 kilos.
Okay.
And they also have the Bomarots, which is just 1 bag. Of around 25 kilos per day. And then the Napier now, it's at lip, like you can use as much as you want. So the ones that are expensive, it's well rationed and well packaged as well. So it's just to open 1 bale, you use it for a day. So it became so easy to manage, and you have now the camera to ensure that you are checking with the boy.
Okay.
Yes.
Now in this business, let's talk about now what you call the success factors.
Yes.
What are the things that one should consider when running such a business to make it a success?
Thank you.
Before we talk now from the initial stages, before we go into feeding, before we go also into about the structures.
Yes.
What are the success factors that one should consider? I
think one of the biggest things about this business and any other business is consistency and the passion. Those 2 are very, very important. Before you even really think of the whole concept, and once you start conceptualizing on what you want to do, when you're starting, it's not easy. At times you have the challenge of capital. You could even encounter, say, the animals can die. Planning may go wrong along the way. But if you're very, very passionate about it, you will go far, because you may not, despite the challenges, you'll not easily give up, because it's a passion, it's something that you love. It's what drives me when I come home. Apart from like when I come home in the evening, I want to go check the animals, go with my kids. Like that is the thing that really drives. So when you have that passion for it, you'll do everything, you'll research, you'll read more about it. So that is one. The other one is, of course, now passion. You also add the consistency. Despite all the challenges that you may encounter, you of course remain consistent, and then you do your market research. So if you research about where you're gonna sell the animals, what market strategies are you going to use to access your market? How are you going to promote it? Who are your partners along the way? So I think from my business background, where I was working, I think I could pick some of those lessons now on developing a go-to-market plan, on how to approach it, who are you going to partner with, am I going to talk to Dan to promote me one way or another? And I think we were very, very lucky now to also have those friends that could support. But the other most important thing was also just read widely, research on how to be the best of the best. So we had a lot of research, and I think we also had guys from South Africa who were also just very generous and kind enough to show us and share with us the information that what we needed to do so that our business can grow. Yes.
Now let's go now through the journey. Somebody wants to start a business like this one.
Yes.
We've talked about the wholesome success factors. Now where the rubber meets the road.
Correct.
You started. You took the ram. What were the considerations? Let's talk about now breeding.
Yes.
Because you said that somebody told you that you have to invest in a good ram.
Correct.
For you to get the right breed.
Yes.
And where the whole thing originated was South Africa.
Correct.
And probably it's rooted also to England,
Yes.
in a way.
Yes.
Now somebody wants to start. Tomorrow they go outside there, they just buy. Should they just buy, or what are the factors that they need to consider
when they are getting the share?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think before you even buy the animals, the first thing that you need to do is to prepare the feeds. Get the feeds, get a good structure for the animals. It may not be those expensive. Funny enough, if you look at where we started ourselves, we built our sheep house using offcuts, because we didn't have really the money to really go big. Like, unlike what we now came to modernize, which actually is not even really top notch compared to what we've seen out there, but at least we can say to our standards now, we are okay with it.
Okay.
So you start very small, get to learn. So, and before you start, of course, invest in the feeds. And then after you invest in the feeds and the structure, then you go out to source for sheep. And obviously, you need to reach out to the experienced guys, like you can talk to us and several other breeders around.
Okay.
Then visit the farms. Actually, before, I think I forgot that, before we even started, we did a visit to one of the breeders in Kitale at that time with a few of my friends to just see what was happening. So you visit and learn. Yeah, see it for yourself before you start. Okay. And then from there now, it's now making that decision now, say, I'm going to source the animals.
Okay.
So get some good quality breeding stock, get from reputable farms. It may not necessarily be those expensive, because Dorper is very, very expensive. Like our rams, you'd get it for like 200 plus thousand a piece. So you can get the local but good quality sheep once you learn, because once you visit a farm, you can learn exactly and differentiate between what is a good Dorper, what are the qualities that are needed in Dorper. For example, the black head, to what percentage is the head black? Okay. To what percentage is the body straight? To what percentage are the legs spread well? Okay. And all that. To what percentage is the muscle? Okay. The standability, all those things. Okay. Once you learn those, and it comes slowly, you may not get it over time. Even for us, we're not even 100%. Okay. So once you learn that, purchase some good stock, then don't compromise on the ram. Okay. Buy a ram from a breeder.
Just for the benefit of our viewers also,
yes.
I'm so interested to get the nitty, because somebody can just sell you something because it is coincidentally the color, the black head. And what can somebody, just in an overview, how can somebody see that this is a real Dorper?
Thank you. A good Dorper, number one is the weight gain you can see from, if you compare with the locals, they grow so fast. So you can actually tell that this is still young, but you can see the age, the growth is coming up well. But when you look at the head, it's black all the way to the neck and nothing else.
It should not go past the neck.
It should not go past that. And then it has a very wide chest. Okay. A very good chest, very wide chest, and then a flat back. And very, very straight legs. And from the hinds, it's really wide and has some very good muscle. Okay. So that it's able to, and they are not really tall compared to, like, they have nowadays the breeding has been bred to where they're not so tall, but they carry a lot of muscle. Okay. So that makes it a good quality animal. Okay. And especially if you look at the chests.
Those are now the physical characteristics
that
you can tell
from any other black-headed sheep. Okay. Because the Dorper, by the way, is a cross of Somali, the Black Persian. Okay. And a South African, actually it was a British brought to South African breed, a Dutch brought to South African breed called Dorset Horn. Okay. So it's a combination of two. Okay. And that is now they were bred to withstand all these challenges of weather, from the desert all the way to cold areas. And the most important thing about Dorper, the one that differentiates it more from all the other breeds, is that it gains twice the weight at half the time.
Okay.
So a good Dorper should be able to actually give you up to 70, 80 kilos at half the time that an ordinary, the local sheep.
When it is born, now when we get the lamb, roughly what is the kgs when it's born?
Thank you. Because we do breeding, we normally keep our records. The best that we've had at our farm was 6.2 kilos.
6.2 kgs?
Yes, but we have an average of 4.8 as of today. It's lumping season actually as we speak. Like I think yesterday we had like 6 or 7 lumping. So we have an average of 4.9 kilos, 4.8, 4.9.
Okay. Now, how long does it take to mature?
Thank you. Maturity would take you 6 months. They have matured. But we normally recommend, for example, that even at that 6 months, you shouldn't serve. Like allow it at least 1 year.
Okay.
That is why when most farmers or when most of the institutions that we serve request for breeding stock, they would want 9 months and above, between 9 and 11 months. Okay. Because we would say they are physiologically mature. They can actually mate and give birth to an offspring when they are 1 year, 1 month. Okay. But the challenge with that is that they will have complications because the best time is allow them to now really grow well up to start serving at 11 months.
At 11 months?
Yes, but we've seen farmers who really want things fast, very but fast. Okay. Eventually they lose because that lamb may not lamb up to 10 times as expected, or even 13 in some cases where we've seen. So you would want to just rather wait, give it well, and if you allow it to 11 months, they're actually going to even give birth to twins, and they're able to carry both twins without a challenge. And they are able to actually now sustain that productivity for a long time. And one of the other key difference between the Dorper and any other ordinary sheep actually is the fact that it mostly gives twins, and it, apart from the faster growth, they have very good mothering abilities. They're able to recognize their kids and able to comfortably take care. Some even have triplets, and they still really ensure that the lambs come up well. They have very, very good mothering abilities, and they have faster growth and obviously very docile. They are not aggressive animals, so they're very, very easy to manage.
Okay, and now also just to take you back a little, to see the rate of kgs, and you talk about now growth. You say that an average is 4.8 kgs, and now it takes like 9 months to mature. By the 9th month, what is an average kg that it might have acquired?
Thank you. In our farm, we've seen around 45, 50 when they're on 8 months. We've seen a winning rate when they're 4 months, when they just turn 4, we have a winning rate of around 30 kilos. But we've seen the best where it's recommended that it should actually get to 10 kilos a month. So by 9, especially for the rams, they would give you up to 90 kilos when they are 9 months. For the ewes, they gain around 8 kilos, so they should be on 60, 70. But for us, we have an average of 45, 50, which means that we still have a lot to do. Of course, because we didn't import the ewes, we only imported the rams. And that means that we are still building up as we work towards a good quality, I would say pedigree, pure pedigree Dorpers. Yeah.
Now, we've talked about, now that is an average of 8 to 10 kgs per month.
Correct.
Now, it means that it is informed by the feeding the feeding program. Do we have a kind of diet that you have to use to acquire that kind of growth?
Thank you. I think one of the things that I'll tell you is, yes, it's the nutrition, one part. Second part is the management. And the third part is the genetics, and genetics would play 60%.
Okay.
If you put, because our model of farming is zero grazing, and so the nutrition that we use is so easy. We have a very easy plan.
Okay.
Number one, we do silage, which an animal would consume around roughly a kilo or two at most, depending on the age. Then we do boma rods.
Okay.
For boma rods, again, it's less than a kilo. It's like half a kilo. And then we now do ad lib, like as much as you would want for super napier.
Okay.
Yeah, so those three are the main ones. Then we also have sheep meal, which we actually produce on our own, because the biggest cost is normally on feed production.
Okay.
Biggest cost of any management in farming, livestock farming, would be feed production.
Okay.
So we focus on. So we do a bit, because of the zero grazing aspect, we do a bit of sheep meal, which is actually yellow maize. Then we have wheat bran, we have cotton, soya. So a mix of all that would now come into play as we add, but that would form like 2% or thereabouts, and then just salt and clean water.
Okay.
Yes.
And somebody was arguing that when you do, like, for example, free grazing, that is an open kind of grazing.
Correct.
These sheep will benefit more of balanced diet compared to zero grazing. How do you see a challenge whereby zero grazing people consider it very expensive compared to free grazing? You can advise on the reverse.
I think the choice of what to use, whether to go zero grazing or free range, is dictated by land.
Okay.
I started on 1 acre. I didn't have land, and so that forced me to, because I didn't go to my father's. I started on my small 1 acre farm, and I needed to grow because we had a vision of where we are headed, and so that forced me to go zero grazing, and I had to research on how to optimize on production so that I can get the best out of this. Okay. But for guys that have a huge tract of land, you don't need to incur the small extra cost, but it's manageable. We've never struggled to feed, because once you start and you have very good numbers, you would get a ram for you. Like, say you sell, we just produced our silage yesterday, and I think the cost was around 200,000. 200,000 means you sell 3 rams only for 70K each, and that takes care of all that. Okay. So it means that if you sell, say for example, you have 100 animals, you just need to sell 10% or so of that to take care of the feed production. Okay. And then maybe another 5% or so for management issues, the drugs and all that. Okay. And then you work on the other percentage for, of course, extending the flock and all that, and you have your profitability along the way. So for me, it's not, once you focus and you have good numbers, they can be able to take care of themselves. We've never, like, you don't have to actually dig into the pocket to get extra money to take care of the animals. You just need to know, I'm going to set aside this. And of course, if I told you, when you're selling the 3, you have the 15 of them lumping down. Yeah. So it's already,
it's a balance.
You get a balance very quickly.
Now, before we take a very short break, because our time is much moving, just to talk something about also the structures, that is the housing. Do you have a standard kind of the house that it should look like this? What are the measurements? What is it that you consider for a standard or a good housing or a structure for these sheep?
Thank you. When you're setting up a structure, there are 2 options. There's the one that is raised, which has its advantages, and there's the one that you just roof and let it remain on the floor without raising it, and keep the animals on the floor. You just need to add the sawdust. It has its advantages again and a bit of disadvantage, because one, it gets sawdust and the animals might easily fall sick, and then the other one is hygiene, on how to clean, because it keeps getting dirty. So that is one, but again, it doesn't cost much. Like, you just need to set the mabati roof, and fence aside, and that's all you need to do.
Okay.
But if you are in a dry area, say for example in Elgeyo Marakwet, along the valley, or you are in Kajiado, or even say Turkana, West Pokot, you don't even need to have the raised, or we just need to enclose it.
Okay.
Just fence to keep away the predators, because these are very hardy animals. They survive in any environment. But again, now when you come to a place like Uasin Gishu, Nandi, South Rift, where you have a lot of rains and the soils get muddy, you don't want to have your animals getting food rot at any given time, and because that will lower their productivity, and you might end up losing animals. So that is when now it forces you to raise.
Okay.
And it's a very ideal one for this particular region. For the places like here, you would have to raise your house for you to get the best from these animals.
Okay.
And the standard is that you raise it to 3 feet, 3.5 to 4, so that you can now then go in
For cleaning purposes.
and yes, you clean on the top, but again, all those droppings will drop to the floor, and you need a high enough that someone can crawl in and sweep out at, every 2 or so months, so that it doesn't really get the steam coming in to mess with the animals. So that is the best, because you're guaranteed of hygiene and obviously security. The only thing you need to consider is don't allow it to have you need to know what the direction of the wind, because if it's in a place that the wind comes from, then obviously those animals would get sick at some point. But again, once you raise it, you don't need expensive structures really. So once you raise it, just ensure that again the floor has some good spaces to allow just big enough to allow the droppings to fall to the floor, and with that you're good to go. Okay.
And now to control being overcrowding, and now in terms of spacing, do you have a standard measurements?
Yes, we normally say that one animal would need 1 square meter for the adults. So looking at the number of animals that you want to have, you just work out the square meters. If it's 3 by 6, then you know you have like 20 animals in that particular space. But to even make better use of it, you can design it in a way like where you don't actually have to feed those animals inside, and they don't have to. The only thing that they do is that you have a bigger space outside with a feeding area outside, and that is when they get access to the sunlight. Then you take them in just for sleep and maybe a shelter when it's so sunny. And that way you can actually squeeze as many animals as I think you can actually more than, because with 1 square meter you can have 1 animal when they are feeding from inside, but with the 3 square meters you can have even up to 5 animals in 3. So that means a factor of 1.5. You can add a factor of 1.5 when you have a feeding space outside. Okay. Yes.
Now, do you think, talking about now the demand for these now mutton and also these Dorper, do you think demand supersedes supply, or it is the vice versa? But before you answer, we'll get back to the same after this particular break. I think, ladies and gentlemen, the show is getting very serious. And also, please ensure that if you have a question regarding our guest tonight, please don't hesitate to comment on the comment section, so that our guest tonight will be getting back to us in a few. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short break. Remember that I'm coming from Rift Valley. Yeah, we are going to take a very short break, then we'll be back shortly.
Welcome to KIBOIS Breeders. My name is Kosgei, the proprietor of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. This is the kind of farming that is meant to transform livelihoods of rural communities. It's meant to transform livelihoods and improve the economy of the country. We do Dorper sheep breeding. Yes. We are also potato farmers. also sell sheep manure. We support you to import animals, and we also export. As I said, we've already exported to Uganda and DR Congo. Yes. We also train you on how to keep sheep farming. We also do consultations and advices. Okay.
Let's embrace technology in marketing our animals and our farm produce. But again, let's also embrace the use of technology, the use of CCTV to also just monitor farm operations and manage the activities that we do. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you.
Welcome to KIBOIS Breeders. My name is Kosgei, the proprietor of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. This is the kind of farming that is meant to transform livelihoods of rural communities. It's meant to transform livelihoods and improve the economy of the country. We do Dorper sheep breeding. Yes. We are also potato farmers. We also sell sheep manure. We support you to import animals, and we also export. As I said, we've already exported to Uganda and DR Congo. Yes. We also train you on how to keep sheep farming. We also do consultations and advices. Okay.
Let's embrace technology in marketing our animals and our farm produce. But again, let's also embrace the use of technology, the use of CCTV to also just monitor farm operations and manage the activities that we do. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you.
Welcome to KIBOIS Breeders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CEO show. And remember, our guest tonight is Mr. Kosgei, who is the founder and the CEO of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. And just before we go back to him, we have quite an overwhelming reach tonight. Here is saying we have Limo, who is saying following from all the way from Cheptegei. We have Castle, also we have Maswai. This guy is doing an amazing job, so much to learn from him. And also we have Kesio Limo from Kapsabet. Also we have Castle Dynamics following live from Nairobi. Kevin Ruto is watching. Castle following from Nairobi. And then also we have following from Kajiado. This is Makmai Simbiri, all the way from Kajiado. We have David Kiai, who is saying Mwalimu Kiai here. KIBOIS transforming lives through agriculture. Amos Koech following live from Lesos. Amazon keep inspiring Isaac, incredible show. We have Kennedy following from Turbo. We have Judith following. We have Kimtache Lilin following, and also many who are still following. Also remember to ask your question so that our guest tonight will be in a position to respond. I was asking something about demand and supply.
Yes.
Do you think the demand supersedes supply, or the supply supersedes demand?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I think currently there's what we call, there's a very big interest in Dorper farming. I would call it a Dorper craze, a very, very big interest. And that is driven partly in part by the demand coming in from Middle East. because I told you Middle East would normally demand for animals that are 45 kilos and above. And all our local sheep cannot, I would say majority, not all, but majority around 90% cannot meet that standard of 45 kilos and above live weight. And so the real deal is in Dorper farming. But the other big driver of demand is on most of the NGOs coming in to support livestock restocking in partnership with the government and county governments. So that is what is also driving a big demand across the region. In most counties, I can see they are really considering this because everybody is assured of the big export market. Saudi Arabia, for example, would demand 1 million animals. And that's why you see between January and June, you would see a huge demand for livestock going into Middle East. You'd see a lot of exports going to Middle East because there's a month in the month of June where we have Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha is a festival of sacrifices, if you remember the story, the biblical story. So that is the driver of the big numbers that you're seeing. Because Eid al-Adha, one country would slaughter 1 million animals in 2 or 3, is it a week-long festivals for the Muslims? So that you would find Iran ordering, we've received orders of even 14,000 animals to Iran, and most of these other Gulf countries. So there's a huge demand. Okay. And what the government of Kenya did is through the Ministry of Agriculture, they have started a lot of livestock restocking programs, both at county level and of course even the national government has projects that support livestock restocking. And one of them, for example, is the Kenya Livestock Commercialization Project, which is like a 10 billion project that the president launched in 1st of June. So that means that most of these counties now are in demand of breeding stock, most communities. And I think that is a space that we saw an opportunity to work with the NGOs and work with the government to actually support these communities. So the demand is so huge that I think it will take time for us to really stabilize the market, because I think looking at all the projects that have been put in place, most of these counties and most institutions are actually looking at livestock as a big driver of agriculture in East Africa. And of course, the market is guaranteed anyway. So we are seeing a huge investment and a huge support, and that is what is driving the need for breeding stock, not just here. We also export to Uganda ourselves. So we are doing the best we can as KIBOIS to really empower communities. We supply rural communities in partnership with most of these institutions. And I can tell you, it's when we started, it was easy to get the numbers, but right now it's very difficult. So the position we play is we breed, but when we realized that we could not meet that market, so we went out to recruit so many other youths. Okay. We have 77 young guys who give us animals right now. Okay. And that is specifically for Dorper. And we have around 100 other farmers that give us gala. Okay. Because most of these counties are demanding their 2 animals because they are fast growing and they take less time to really gain they actually, we say that it gains twice the weight at half the time. Okay.
Now, just because sometimes numbers don't lie, when talk about now the biggest demand that or order that you've ever got as a company.
The biggest order that we've ever got as a company, 1,100 animals in a month.
1,001. So generally, on average, what is the rate of supply that you have per year, probably?
Per year right now, we are doing over 1,500, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a year?
Yes.
And you have the capacity?
Yeah. No. We do not supply. As I said, we are on 200 ourselves. But now we are looking to recruit as many young farmers as possible.
Okay.
Because we cannot meet the demand.
Yeah.
and when we get orders now, we have to talk to every other person, young, old, of course.
Okay.
But we try, because we know the younger generation would actually stand at a better position, because they understand the needs of the market in terms of the aspects of breeding. The reason we failed is, as a country, in terms of livestock production, is the crossbreeding issue.
Okay.
You will find rams going all over, the father mating with the daughter and the granddaughter, so all that. So we spoil the genetics.
Okay.
Now we are saying we want to work with these younger guys, that we can tell them, separate. Like if you come to our farm, the rams are in different places, and so we know exactly who the father of each animal is and who the mother of each animal is.
Okay.
And we want the young generation to actually follow that, because ni ngumu sana kuambia wazee, please, can you have all these rams? So if you ask them which animal fathered these rams, they do, these young ones, they would not know.
Okay.
But for us, record keeping is important, and I think that is where we are following up, so that as we supply communities, we are supporting with trainings, but also just getting it from a reputable source and a reputable group of guys that can follow the instructions. So as long as they're willing to follow the standards that we're offering at KIBOIS, in terms of production, you're game, and we sign you up.
So it means that, on a light note, these animals have generations.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a good breeder should, there's no breeding without records. So what, I mean, and records is not just to say this animal was born on this date by this father and mother. It's way beyond that. It's about also just saying, which animal will we pick as the best animal for our farm? There's an aspect called synchronized lumping. Synchronized lumping means all the young ones, like I gave you an example, yesterday we had 5 young ones born. Today we had others again. So all of them within a bracket of 1 week, all of them are born. Then you subject that to now the analysis and track every aspect of their growth. And not just tracking the young ones, you also track the mothers. So what happens in breeding is that you keep the records. Of course, when you're breeding them, when they are mating, you know this ram is the one that served all these 20 animals, but you synchronize them. Synchronize means that ram will stay outside the field until when you're ready to mate them. So you'll bring them for exactly 6 weeks. Then that means all the animals, because one ram when you import, or when you buy a ram, and they are mature enough, at 1 year, they are able to serve you 40 animals in 1 month. So if you have 20, it's actually even, you are underutilizing him. So, but it's recommended that way anyway. So if you give 20 animals, they all will give birth at the same time, right? Then you need now to track the records. Once you track when they were born, and you know the mother and father, obviously, you will need to know after 1 month, each lamb, any young one, how much weight did it gain? I told you they are born at an average of 4.5. Then the ones that are born twins, because most of them are also twins, that mother has to be given a factor of 0.7 compared to the rest. Then once you grow 1 month, you have it at 60 days as well, and at weaning, which would be 75 or 80, 90 days, depending, 2.5 months or 3 months. That is when now you wean them. Weaning means now you separate from the mothers, they go survive on their own, then the mother gets back to be served.
And all these, you have to keep records too?
Yes, you keep the records as a breeder. From that time when you are mating, then when they are lumping, so you have to check which mother has a difficult birth, which lamb gained the best weight, which lamb ultimately at the end, it's a race. So by day 90, with all these 20 of them, who gained the best weight? Then you pick that guy and also pick the mother and take note, if you're a serious breeder, that is an animal that will never be sold. The one that came in, so you always select the best. So you start now an issue of selection. Once you do the records and you've done the analysis, you pick the best. Some of them, their young ones will die. Some of them, they don't gain the weight. Then you start saying, was it the issue of the mother? Is it that she doesn't have enough milk? And if it's the issue of milk and they are all having the same feeding program, they're all born at the same time.
So you have to find out the
Yes,
reason.
you find where, then you repeat again with the next lambing season.
Okay.
If this mother again is the one that produces the least growing, then you cull that mother.
Okay.
Then you pick the rams now that come out of this. If there are twins, for example, you would want to select one of them as the champion for the farm. And now start kind of selective breeding across generations is what now will give us the best pedigree animal and the best. And that is what we want to encourage. And that is what we are working with NGOs to train communities on all these aspects of breeding and reproduction.
Yeah.
So that once we gain that, it means that we can produce superior breeds that would now easily, within 8 months, you can easily export. And so your cost of production, if you can produce a lamb that would take you 6 months to get to 50 kilos, then you don't have to wait. You can export very quickly and you get your money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about now, how do you market your products? How do you market these animals? And because now we know that the demand is full.
Yes.
But now what is it that you consider as a good marketing structure for your company?
Thank you. I think when we started, it was a bit challenging, but obviously the biggest contributor to your marketing strategy is quality. So if you work on quality and consistency, then even if you're in the village, everybody will come for you. So that is one. So quality will speak, that is what will sell the name. Now the other aspect is we used modern technologies. We used social media, for example. That and again with social media, the aspect again that demanded you to be consistent in your farming journey would demand that you also remain consistent in your marketing. And so when we started, we were slowly updating every other day. But we never, in fact, how we grew so fast was we gave ourselves a challenge that we have a post almost every single day.
Okay.
Then when we started, you'd have just 1 like per day, 2 likes, 3 likes. But over time, you at times you just post and you're not even sure how. So we started creating viral posts when we didn't even know that they were going to be viral. And then we also had guys that believed in us from the start. And I think one of the biggest one is a guy called Lemiso. So Lemiso, I think, is someone we would credit because he kept and we didn't. He's just a friend, and we'd be like, boss, I see you doing a good thing. Can I post that on my wall? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. So when we were doing our first sale in 2021, the guy that marketed was Lemiso. So he kept growing and he kept marketing. And before we knew it, then the other bloggers came in now. But when we started from the humble beginnings, we had Lemiso starting with, and a few other friends, of course, Kena Alfred Sajin at some point. So social media now grows. And then over time, we also had the mainstream, Kas FM, coming in to partner with us. And we had, then when we were now importing our ram from South Africa, Kas FM featured us. And then we had the likes of Tuko coming in. And then other guys now started saying, we want to interview you. And before we knew it, we were known all over the place. And now with that kind of exposure, now came in the business. Because one of the aspects of, we now started partnering with counties on those projects, like what we just concluded on, it was called a NARIC project. So we worked with 3 or so counties at that time in 2022. And now that demanded that we really aggressively aggregate and recruit breeders so that you can work. Then the NGOs also started coming in, the FAOs, GIZ and all that.
Now, talking to a lot of farmers fear to the exposure that you're talking about. And to some point, it means it has worked to your business. Now, just to advise these farmers that fear the social, because we are going the social media way and also the mainstream media way.
Correct.
But now, talking about in a nutshell, the importance of this to any other business, bringing it out and also making your business known outside there.
Thank you. I think with the modern age, really, of course, we had the cultural aspect where we say, especially for livestock, please hide them. But I mean, if you're in business, and you have products and you want to really market, because for us, I'm an agribusiness graduate, and one of the aspects of agribusiness is marketing. So if you really want to market, if you keep quiet and you don't shout about what you have, then how will people get to know about it? So for me, I normally encourage people, please, first of all, have a page, register a company and all that. But most importantly, please, please, please market. You cannot just keep quiet and say you're not going to market. How will people know you if you don't have a godfather, for example, say, you don't have anyone to shout about it? So beat your own drums. One way or another, people will get to notice. When we did what we did, we had some very senior government officials coming in to say, we want to support what you're doing. And that is how we got to grow.
Okay.
We even had our county government in Nandi, we had a big support from our CEC coming in just to say, hey, do you need market somewhere? Do you need, and he has supported us in also creating the market. So it's because, first of all, you package a good product, but most importantly, don't fear to shout. And at times, people may not believe in you. It will take so much time for guys to actually believe in, because it was so crazy. It looked like a quail business, or someone would be like, this guy, I think, is lost focus on what he should be doing, and that people didn't really consider farming as a business. It was just like that old man job when I'll retire or something. But if you modernize it, there's a phrase that we normally say, we need to make it sexy. We need to make it appealing to the young people. So please, social media is one aspect, but even having a website is one other. So those kind of things, shout about it, and people will actually get to recognize, and you'll reap immense rewards from it.
Okay. That is, I think I just love that. Like, you have to make it very appealing.
Exactly.
And it means that people are now liking it, because when you go through your page,
Yes.
somebody can develop a serious interest in this
Correct.
category. Now, going now to about financial issues and also the cost of running this kind of business. You started with 100,000. You've just spoken about, of which I'm very keen also to get from you. You imported a ram all the way from South Africa.
Correct.
What was the cost implication? And also, do you think there is value for money?
Thank you. Yeah, when we last we started actually in 2021. When we had grown and we sold our first animals, we imported a ram. But the one that I think grew us better was last year when we imported 2 rams. So 1 ram is 250,000.
1 ram.
One
That
ram.
is now, is it the ram itself also plus the shipping cost and whatever?
The shipping cost, like the whole cost to get the ram to the farm would set you back around 260, 270.
Just in a preview, tell us about the process.
Thank you. The process is you need to, of course, look for an agent in South Africa. You can actually just go there, look at the farms, but there are also some very, very good agents in South Africa. So you look for an agent, scout for the animal that you want. Then you have the animal then gets quarantined. But before that, you apply for an import permit. And that again comes with a list of things that should be tested. Say, for example, foot and mouth disease, so whatever will come in should be tested for like 7 diseases or so. And then the breeding soundness. And of course, the classifications in terms of is it a pedigree, like, because you don't want to again import a low quality animal. So with all that, the permit will actually state specifically what it needs based on the disease surveillance and what we know here. So you send that there, then the animal gets tested and quarantined for 21 days. And before it comes in, and then it gets shipped, of course, together. We normally, so that we get the cost. Otherwise, if you import just one animal, it would cost you like 700, 800. But you team up with so many other guys, and then now apply. You have an agent who will do the clearance, or you can just get it shipped here. You clear it for yourself. So you apply, import as a bulk. At times it comes around, I think a crate would take, depending on if they're all males, the rams, it would take like that 5 to 6 animals. But if you have a mix, you'd get like 50 animals or so. So that comes in, you get cleared, do your paperwork, and drive to the farm with your animal.
How long does it take?
It takes, of course, I talked about the 21 days, but it's a journey that would take even 2 months because you have to also, you select, because you're given, the guys that we normally work with, they would send you the videos of animals and the history of the animal, that it has been tested for breeding soundness and all that. So you have like videos and so you go through that. But again, if you have the time and the money, you can just fly into South Africa. Nowadays, it's visa free. So you can just fly in, visit the farms, select what you want, then come back and just leave the rest to the clearance agents in South Africa, and they'll ship it in.
Okay. Now, you're talking about now the cost of shipping, and
Correct.
we've discussed about the cost of maintenance and
Correct.
also management. But now, for somebody who is interested in terms of meat that is now mutton,
Yeah.
because for you, we understand you do more of breeding, but now how lucrative is it?
Thank you. Picture this. I told you that a ram, say for example, you've imported one ram for 250,000. That one single ram will serve in 6 weeks. You remember the issue of 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. So in 6 weeks, he will serve 30 animals on average. 30 animals. Then they take 6 weeks off. Take a break of 6 weeks. They come back and serve another 30. Then for 6 weeks again. That's 1.5 months. Then they take a break. By the time you're talking of 1 year, they would have served for you 100 plus animals. So first, you cannot import a ram if you only have 10 ewes. You'll not get value for it. You import a ram if you're talking of 50 plus, because if you serve in that 6 week window, the gestation period, it will carry that pregnancy for 5 months. So if they take a 6 week break again, so that means that they'll be on the 3rd month of pregnancy, and you still need to have another group of animals to be served. So you'll divide your 100 animals into groups of 20, 20, 20, or at most 30, depending on the number. So that means then in that one single year, they will have even served this, and they'll come back to serve again the same group because in 1 year, 2 months, they would have lambed twice. So in that 1 year, that one single ram will have served a minimum of 100 animals.
Even more than.
Even more than. Now, one ram, when they are 3 months old and they are pure quality, you would sell a ram for 30,000. If you can keep it to even 8 months, you'll sell it for 40,000. Say that you can keep them for 8 months. Say that 50 of them out of the 100 were rams. You have your 4 million.
That's good money.
50 times because at 8 months you would sell it for like 50, 60,000. So even when you sell it for 60 times 50 animals, you have your 3 million.
3 million.
For the ewes, you can sell for 25, 30. Even at 20 times the 50 animals, you have another 1 million. So you're talking of a return of 4 million.
3 plus 1.
Yes, 4 million in just 1 year from when you imported that ram. So that means that we urge guys, if you want to go for quality, then bulk the numbers for the ewes, and you can start small so that you build very quickly. You then from there now get some good quality rams. And the returns are, and you can imagine you're going to use that ram with this particular group of mothers for a very long time. The only thing is you need to be careful that they don't get to serve these ewes, the offsprings. Then you can even get now an extra ram because you can afford it to serve. That's why we have two now to serve the offsprings born from these other guys. Yes, and then if you've imported, say for example for us, we can now move into a friend's farm that who imported, and we can even pick a third ram to serve the third offsprings from this other ram, and you keep building your generations that way, and you make your money.
So at the end of the day, you have a family tree.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's
now, talk about, do you face challenges? What are the bottlenecks in this kind of business?
Thank you. One of the biggest challenge in Dorper farming is, especially for the guys that are on free range and partially on zero grazing. The first one is wireworms. It's something called homongas. It's some internal parasites that I think compared to local sheep, Dorper sheep are a little bit more susceptible compared to the local sheep. The one that you wake up and you find they have a very big bottle jaw, like the jaw is really well swollen. So it's because of wireworms. And I think it's so many farmers really don't know how to manage that.
Okay.
And they end up misdiagnosing it or getting different products. But the funny bit is there's only one or two products in the market that would actually sort that particular problem.
Okay.
And since most farmers then don't know about that, they end up buying and not sorting the problem out. And that kills so many animals because one wireworm would have 20,000 eggs, would lay 20,000 eggs. That would literally suck, I would call them vampires because they literally suck the blood out of the animal. And they would not be able to, if they were lactating, they would have no milk and the young ones would die.
Okay.
So that is one. The other big challenge is on, there's also some diseases called clostridial, like where you would wake up and your best animals have died. Fortunately, that has control. But the challenge is that most farmers, again, don't know that you need to vaccinate sheep.
Okay.
So clostridial diseases, one is lamb dysentery. The young ones, diarrhea a lot, and then they die. That is one big one. The adults would just, especially the best of the best, when they are growing well, they quickly get knocked down and they die. So it's because of clostridial diseases, pulpy kidney, enterotoxemia, lamb dysentery, and tetanus. Those are the two big things, as I said, that would contribute. But fortunately, there's a vaccine for it. And the moment we knew it ourselves, then we've been able to manage. So those are the two aspects. Now, coming to management, there's the issue of feed production, especially for guys that want to venture into zero grazing. It's a big challenge for them because they do not know exactly what balance, what nutritional level is sufficient enough to sustain a health flock. So that is also one big challenge that we've seen most farmers. And that is why now at our farm, we normally have an annual training. And we are trying now to even accommodate those that normally miss. Like in June, we had a training that had 400 farmers coming in from 29 counties. So we now try, even now, to have other monthly programs that we can support and train farmers, especially on how to get the perfect nutrition if you're on zero grazing. But if you're on free range, obviously, nutrition may not be a big challenge, but the biggest one would always be on wireworms. Then the other one is the lack of investment on good breeds. If you go to zero grazing and you're using low quality, like people just go to the market and they buy blackhead, they would never get to 90 kilos. Genetics does not allow it. It's not genetically well grown. Their genetics has not been, as I talked about, that zero grazing and the breeding and the records and picking the best. It has taken from 1930 to date, taken 100 years. So if you pick a local ewe and you expect it to get to 90 kilos, they will not get it. System yake kama ni hivyo. So we want farmers to also just consider investing on quality breeding stock, especially if they want to venture into zero grazing. Yes.
Okay, now I think those are challenges that you've just mentioned. I think now just to go back to our viewers,
yes,
we've seen that there are many questions that are asking, just to also acknowledge their presence. We have the Makata saying that farming is the key and everyone should embrace it. I love it. Bwana Kosgei, also incredible CEO. We have all these good number of people are watching. Joshua Kipchumba Chelanga, and also we have somebody is asking a good question here.
Yes.
This is Edwin Kemba who is saying, Dan, following you very well, please tell the problem with my Dorper sheep. Others start to, so I think he's asking, some Dorper sheep start having this swollen neck together with the head, and then also it loses weight. And then also there is a diarrhea issue, and then they die. That is somebody who is asking that what might be the cause.
Yes.
I think we'll respond in a few. And then we have here Kosgei Evans is saying good work. Following from your footsteps, you are an inspiration. That is Leo Farms Agriculture. And then also Chemteris by saying, mine isn't really a question, but to congratulate KIBOIS breeders for this far. I have been privileged to attend their open day, and I love the work in their silent farmer. Good job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Castle Dynamics is asking, how do you keep records? Is there software or app or manual thought, manual through books? I think that's about the issue with the records. I think also you'll have some few minutes to explain about that. Then Cheploge Divers Search Rescue say Kazi Safi. Julia Siego, good job by Zo, my long-time friend and also a classmate.
Thank you.
We have had a question here. How do you control wireworms and treatment? I think also you'll mention on the same about vaccination.
Yes.
And also the cost implication of vaccination. And then also...
I think I can take that first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can respond to that.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, Julius was my high school mate in Kapsabet. And I thank him that he's following.
Okay.
On the symptoms that one follower has asked about the swollen neck, the diarrhea.
Yeah, and then death.
It's actually the exact same thing that I had mentioned. It's wireworms. So wireworms, we call them homongas. They suck the blood out of the animal and they get so thin. And if you check, the best way to know is just to open the eyes. You'll see the eyelids. They become pale white because there's literally no blood. It's anemic, and so they will end up dying. So the control to that is to get a product called levamisole. There are so many levamisoles in the market. So get levamisoles and ivermectin injection and levamisole oral. With that, it's the only sure bet. It's actually the only sure solution. Most farmers would pick so many other products. But with that, and you need to get a vet because you need, the rates have to be very, very keen. Otherwise, it's a very strong product, and a combination of the two specifically would actually even end up killing the animal if you're not careful.
Okay.
So they need to work, and they need to know that that is wireworms. Okay. And that, again, answers the question on how do you control the wireworms. As I said, levamisole and ivermectin. Okay. A combination of the two.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, we have Evans is saying very inspiring. Agriculture is all about good variety of crops, pedigree in livestock, and then interested with Gala goats. I had a question from YouTube. We have another question from YouTube from Brian Birel, who is asking, following from Eldoret, please ask if at the moment why most Dorper's farmers are breeders, and where are the end consumers of mutton in Kenya? Do they fetch the same prices? That is for mutton and breeding.
Thank you.
I think I can just respond to that.
Thank you. Yes, most farmers are breeders at the moment. I would not even say most, because when we talk about the breeding aspect of farming, it entails a lot of record keeping and all that. We haven't really seen much of it, but at least we are seeing a good direction where we are headed now, where people are actually working towards record keeping, but at the same time also ensuring that they invest in good quality breeding stock. Again, if you look at the numbers, the reason there has been a big demand for breeding stock is because almost all NGOs, right now we're working with GIZ, we're working with FAO, and we're working with counties to just support on the breeding programs. That means that there's a demand for breeding stock at the moment, and that explains why everybody's going to breeding. I told you that in a year you would have a demand of say 1,000, 1,500 animals, and we cannot meet that as KIBOIS if we don't partner with everybody else. So by the time I'm done here, I'm expecting that you'll also become a farmer and that you'll buy sheep, and so that I can get an additional breeder from the issue, and my viewers will get guys now coming in, calling us and visiting, so that we can all work together to serve. Because one, it empowers the communities in a very big way. We have this support from for breeding programs across the counties, and we even export. We have a huge demand for breeding stock in Rwanda and Uganda that we're currently servicing. Even as we speak, we have an order coming in from Uganda. So that's what we work on, and that explains. But in terms of the mutton market, you would find an average of 600 Kenya shillings, 480 from at farm level. Farm gate would buy at around 480, 500. But again, consider this. You have, if you're able to sell 500 animals, of course, export would even fetch you a good price. But even if you started this and you have your Dorpers, like we were weighing our ewes the other day, you are talking of 60, 70 kilos, 80. Half of that is the slaughter weight. Any animal that would be on 100 kilos, 50% is slaughter weight. 100 kilos of live weight, you divide that by 2. And you get, so if you have 50 kilos at 600 for sale, or say, for example, you have an average of 60 kilos, then you have your 30 kilos able to sell. That means that you can actually fetch up to 18,000, but at that price of 600. If you do it even at 14,000, 15,000, and you're selling 100 animals every year, you have a return of 1.4 million.
Okay, I see our time is up, but now there is a question somebody asked about record keeping. Is there software that can help?
Thank you. Yes, we do both manual and the reason we do manual is I have a farm guy that runs the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
So he has to. We have templates that we printed out, an Excel that we actually got it from the ship. We call it if they go online, there's a ship app. So that would now then we just got the Excel from it. Then you enter manually. Then whenever I go now to the farm and we have the time, we can feed that data into the software.
Okay.
So we have an app that I think is it charges a small amount, say around 1,400 a year, to just run, and you're able to do all the aspects that you would want in your farm.
Thank you. Now, the future of this business, Dorper farming.
Yes.
What do you foresee?
Thank you. I think particularly for the regional economic blocks, I see a way out in empowering our communities in a very big way. I see a way out in creating jobs. And I've seen at least that we have support from all angles. We have the support from World Bank, we have the support from IFAD, through those projects, commercialization, livestock commercialization. But again, we have goodwill from counties, and I think for me, the future is where we have an abattoir that then we slaughter as Eldoret, serving the entire North Rift region. We slaughter the livestock and sell halal certified beef, which would cost around 1,200 a kilo. We export that, yes, per kg. We export that to the Gulf countries. And that means if you go, say for example, if you go to Nairobi, you'll see what the Northeastern guys are doing with their gala. We go to Lakisama at Neema Slaughterhouse. You go to Kedmeat, they are slaughtering 3,000 animals a day. So the future is that, especially as we head to a place where land as a resource and the factor of production is getting limited, we can actually lease out farms for production of fodder, and then do a lot of zero grazing here. And for us, we export, we slaughter and export, we do value addition, and then export the beef to the Gulf countries. So that would actually, we will have so many young guys just focusing at home and doing what they need to do to sustain the production. And then we will create the jobs through the abattoirs, and I hope we will get the governors and the CCs listening, because it's an area that we need to really get investment, as particularly here in Eldoret. We can utilize Eldoret International Airport. But at the same time, I see a big way out of poverty for rural communities. When I see the breeding programs that we are doing in 13 counties, we've done a lot of trainings together with GIZ in Turkana. We've done breeding stock supply to Lodwar, to West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, in most of these Asal counties, a county like Uasin Gishu and Nandi have become really a good source of breeding stock. And previously we would see a lot of guys coming in from Uganda to go to Kajiado, for example, to get breeding stock, but now they end up stopping here. And I think I see a future where we are creating a good market and opportunity for the youth, but at the same time empowering the rural communities who we supply currently. If they all manage to breed, you can imagine where we are pumping in 1,500 to 2,000 animals every year. Then we go ship that back to our slaughterhouses. As they get multiplied, okay, we are going to get out of poverty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It can be a good model of wealth creation. That is what you say.
Correct, and empowering societies, even the small mama mbogas.
Amazing.
Yes.
Now, to our viewers, this is your camera, your parting shot, and also people who are looking forward to do the business that you're doing, that is in farming of Dorpers or any other business. What do you think is your parting shot for tonight to our viewers?
Thank you, Dan. I think the parting shot to our viewers is, of course, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for following our journey and our story. Thank you for having supported us all along. There's a huge market and there's huge potential in this particular business. I've told you about the export market and the need for breeding stock in other countries as well. So if we all partner together, we are going to go far, and we are going to really uplift so many youth and create employment, so that even as we get out of college, we can actually modernize agribusiness, do value addition, and get money out of this. So we are here to work together. Our Facebook page is KIBOIS Breeders, and I'm always available on call. Of course, you can always call us. Our contacts are on our Facebook page. Feel free to call us. We also have a website, kiboisbreeders.com. Go check what we have in our website, and let's work together to build this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for coming to our show tonight.
Thank you, Dan.
A good interactive show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the show for tonight, and also remember all your comments and also all your questions. Also, he'll be in a position to respond after the show. We know that the questions are too many, but thank you for the supportive nature that you've been. Remember to get this information, it always comes to you every Tuesday on this particular show. Always make sure that you like, make sure that you share, make sure that you follow us both on YouTube and Facebook. Until another time, how was your host, Dan? Have a good night. God bless you.
Welcome to KIBOIS Breeders. My name is Kosgei, the proprietor of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. This is the kind of farming that is meant to transform livelihoods of rural communities. It's meant to transform livelihoods and improve the economy of the country. We do Dorper sheep breeding. Yes. We are also potato farmers. We also sell seed manure. We support you to import animals, and we also export. As I said, we've already exported to Uganda and DR Congo. Yes. We also train you on how to keep sheep farming. We also do consultations and advices. Okay.
Let's embrace technology in marketing our animals and our farm produce. But again, let's also embrace the use of technology, the use of CCTV to also just monitor farm operations and manage the activities that we do. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you.
Welcome to KIBOIS Breeders. My name is Kosgei, the proprietor of KIBOIS Breeders Limited. This is the kind of farming that is meant to transform livelihoods
and inspiring entrepreneurs. Creative talks, CEO insights, success stories, value markets, and financial education. This is the CEO Show. Hosted by Dan. Business